For those of you wondering what's going to happen to rental home and rental apartment prices, there's some information hidden, buried in this article from the Wall Street Journal, which tells you exactly what's going to happen to rental rates for both single-family homes and apartments in the market. And this also affects the prices of purchases on homes. It has nothing to do with interest rates per se, and that's a subject for another video, but it does tell you what's going to happen to rental rates. And presumably the article is a Crimea River story from landlords who can't find houses to buy, right? Wall Street Journal. And we're talking about biggest landlords. They're these large hedge fund companies, investment companies that are out there buying up new homes or buying up resale homes and just renting them out, taking them off the market for end users and renting them to tenants. So once you get past all this stuff about, the landlords can't find listings and there's too much money, and first of all, it does say there's rarely been a better time to own tens of thousands of single family rentals, right? So that tells you where they're at. And these companies are AMH and Invitation. These are the two rental companies. And you scroll all the way down through all this article about how they're not being able to find homes, and you get to some comments from an analyst of that industry. And the analyst says, you can't paint a better backdrop for pricing power. What that means is these landlords have power to raise up the rates. Pricing power means power to charge more. The economy is still reasonably healthy, and you might think that people are struggling, and they are, but most people still have jobs. People are fully employed. Wage growth is solid. Now, that doesn't mean that people are making enough money to pay the bills. It means that there's growth in wages. Everybody's getting a little bit of a raise. I saw a video the other day where a woman was saying she got a 4% raise, but her rent went up 28%. The math didn't work. So there is wage growth, so people are getting a little bit more money. More importantly, the barriers to homeownership are staggering. Between house pricing going up, the median price home right now is like $460,000, and rates going up. The interest rates are now around 9%. And if you look back on our channel, back about a year ago, we predicted that interest rates will be 10%, which we're only a stone's throw away from there. So if you're wondering about predictions, we called it a year ago. Rates will be 10%. And it's not because we have some magic crystal ball, we say, here's what we think, or a roulette wheel that we're just picking out a number out of thin air. This comes from data. It comes from analyzing news, just like we're doing now. Here's the worst part. The math definitely works in their favor right now, meaning that these rental companies can price rentals higher because people are barred from buying a home. Barriers to home ownership are staggering. So even if you want to buy a house, you can't because the interest rate is too high and the price is too high. But then, here's the punchline. AMH's rents, which have averaged $2,000 a month, could rise more than 30% before they reach the cost of buying comparable houses. So that means that these buy-to-rent companies that are buying homes to rent them know that they're still 30% cheaper than somebody buying a new house, even if they wanted to. So they can raise their rents up even more. And they already have, but the reality is that rental rate increases, according to the article, have been aggressive, but they have not kept up with home price appreciation. So this is public information, Wall Street Journal. These rental companies have known this information long before it came out in the newspaper. They build this into their algorithms to figure out how much to charge. So expect rental rates to go up. Will they go up 30%? Maybe, maybe not. But even if they do, you might think, well, if it goes up 30%, the renters will just buy a house. That's if they can get approved. That's if they have the credit, they have the income, they have the down payment, and they can find a house. Many people are not going to be able to meet all four of those criteria, which means they're going to have to keep renting, so they might have to pay the 30%. And if they don't, or if they do decide to buy a house, there's plenty of other people lined up behind them to want to rent these properties. So expect landlords, we're talking about the larger corporate landlords, to keep raising their rates. The small mom and pops, maybe not so much. Sometimes they're more interested in retaining good tenants and not going through the hassle of eviction or going through the hassle of finding a new tenant because they don't have the resources for it. They want to cling to whatever they have, so they may not raise the rents as much. In fact, some of these larger landlords, what they do is they buy properties from smaller mom and pop landlords who have been hesitant or scared to raise rates, and they just jack up the rates. They don't care, right? They have all the corporate counsel, legal teams to go through the process and the marketing to get new people in. So expect rental rates to continue to rise. And what that's going to do for housing prices is it will keep them from falling. Housing prices, if you're buying a house, won't fall because there's still more people that want to purchase. It's not like there's more supply than demand. So if somebody has a house to sell, they're not going to start dumping it for lower prices, even if they're desperate to sell, because there's plenty of people out there that want to buy. This is a very troubling article. All of the good stuff is at the end. This is the end of the article right here. The last few paragraphs have all the good stuff. Up here, they're just talking about how these companies are complaining they can't find houses, and they're not making as much as they thought. One of the other quotes that was actually pretty good is that there has rarely been a better time to own tens of thousands of single-family rentals. Home ownership is beyond the reach of many Americans and leave plenty of room for rents to rise and still be cheaper than owning. So that's like a broken record. I know you have an opinion about this. Let us know in the comments below. What's the takeaway? You should buy the cheapest house you can stand. If your dream house is out of reach, buy the cheapest house you can physically stand. And you see on our website, Homes Cheap, we show houses all over the country. They're in the $2 to $250 range that are decent, they're livable. That may not be dream house, granite countertops, new kitchen appliances, but at least it's one where your rent is not going to go up. And if you're waiting for interest rates to go down, they're probably not gonna. If you're waiting for house prices to go out, they're probably not gonna. So buy the cheapest house you can stand to avoid these rental increases which are coming.